All right, let's jump right into this. Today, we are dissecting one of the most famous, most talked about events of the 20th century. So, go ahead and grab your tinfoil hats, or actually, maybe grab your weather balloons for this one, because we're exploring exactly how a highly classified military crash out in the New Mexico desert somehow evolved into the ultimate global alien conspiracy. It's an absolutely fascinating case study in folklore, Cold War secrecy, and honestly, just human psychology.
Here is a quick roadmap of what we're covering in this explainer. We'll start with the real secret of what crashed, look into the massive 1947 flying disc craze, explore how societal distrust fueled a so-called cosmic Watergate, map out the anatomy of this modern myth, and finally, stack the actual facts up against the alien fiction.
Okay, part 1. The real secret? Project Mogul. Let's dive right in and establish the actual documented truth of what fell from the sky in 1947.
So picture this. It's the summer of 1947, and the United States is just entering the intense paranoia of the Cold War. Down at the Alamogordo Army Airfield in New Mexico, researchers are launching these massive long trains of classified balloons. This was part of a super-sensitive, uncrewed program called Project Mogul. And the goal here was actually to carry acoustic devices way up high into the atmosphere, to listen, literally listen, for Soviet atomic tests. It was so top secret that even the personnel working on it didn't know the full scope of what they were doing. Well, on June 4th, they completely lost track of flight number 4.
And that lost balloon train? It crashed on a remote ranch near Corona, New Mexico. But here's the thing. When the ranch manager, a guy named Mac Brazel, stumbled upon the scattered debris, he didn't find some hyper-advanced extraterrestrial tech. He found absolute mundanity. We're talking tinfoil, smoky gray rubber strips, thin wooden beams, some durable paper, and this is my favorite part, Scotch tape printed with pastel floral patterns. There were no engine parts, absolutely no indestructible metals, and for sure, no spacecraft.
Moving on to part 2, the flying discs craze and the 1947 information vacuum. So you might be wondering, how on earth did sticks and floral tinfoil turn into an interstellar incident? To get that, we really need to look at the cultural vibe of 1947.
Listen to the timing here because it is crucial. Just weeks before Brazel brought his debris to the local sheriff, a pilot named Kenneth Arnold reported seeing these strange objects in the sky, performing impossible maneuvers. The press immediately dubbed them flying saucers, and boom, it triggered an absolute craze. By the 4th of July weekend, over 800 similar sightings have been reported across the country. Now, Brazel is living out on this remote ranch with no phone, no radio, so when he found his debris, he was totally in the dark about this massive flying disc hysteria that was sweeping the nation.
Now, this is the spark that literally ignited the whole fire. When the local sheriff called the Roswell Army Airfield, which, by the way, was the only U.S. unit capable of delivering nuclear weapons at the time, officers drove out to gather the debris. On July 8th, the base's public information officer hastily puts out this legendary press release, claiming the military had actually captured a flying disc. So the military's own misidentification created instant international headlines. Obviously, to deflect attention from their highly classified Project Mogul, they yanked the story the very next day, held a press conference, and claimed it was just a regular old weather balloon.
Part 3. Fueling the Cosmic Watergate, Societal Distrust. Okay, so after the military puts out that weather balloon cover story, the Roswell incident pretty much just vanishes. Let's fast forward to the 1970s.
It's kind of wild when you think about it. We have this massive 30-year gap where the Roswell story just lies completely dormant. Think about the sheer absurdity of a 30-year silence for what is now the world's most famous UFO case. It wasn't until 1978, when a ufologist named Stanton Friedman interviewed Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer who originally picked up the debris, that the story came back from the dead. Marcel suddenly claimed the weather balloon story was a total cover-up and that the debris was actually extraterrestrial. This directly leads to a 1980 book called The Roswell Incident, which completely blew up his claims and cemented the modern myth.
But why did everyone suddenly buy into Marcel's story after 30 years of crickets? Well, America in the late 1970s was a vastly different place than it was in 1947. We had just gone through the JFK assassination, the whole Watergate scandal, public trust in the government had totally cratered. Accepting conspiracy theories was basically becoming mainstream. UFO believers even coined the phrase cosmic Watergate. This cultural shift created incredibly fertile psychological ground for stories claiming the government was hiding crashed spaceships just to prevent mass panic.
Which brings us to part 4, Anatomy of a Modern Myth and the Snowball Effect. Once that door of distrust was cracked open, this story mutated fast. You can actually watch the claims snowball out of control right here. In the original 47 reports, It's just foil, rubber, and absolutely no bodies. By 1980, the debris magically turns into super strong indestructible metal, and suddenly we have small humanoid corpses pulling from secondhand legends. Fast forward again to the 1992 book, Crash at Corona, and the story has escalated to 2 separate flying saucers, 8 aliens, and 1 live survivor taken into custody. The claims just kept growing wilder and way more complex every decade to feed a market that couldn't get enough.
Central to all these escalating claims was a former mortician named Glenn Dennis. He was often touted as the star witness of Roswell. Back in 1989, he comes forward saying the airbase called him asking about small caskets and body preservation, and that a local nurse confided in him about an alien autopsy. But when investigators pressed him on this, Dennis gave them fake names for the nurse. And when they proved those people didn't even exist, he straight up admitted to fabricating the names. Even impartial UFO researchers, like Carl Flock, pointed out that Dennis's story sounded way more like a B-grade Hollywood thriller than actual history.
Yet, the public's appetite for this was just insatiable. Get this, over 20 million viewers tuned into Fox Network's 1995 broadcast of Alien Autopsy Fact or Fiction. 20 million. It featured footage supposedly showing a real Roswell alien being dissected. Now, the creator of that footage, Ray Santilli, later admitted it was a complete hoax, literally filmed on a makeshift set in a London living room. But even after being thoroughly debunked, that image was burned into our minds. It shaped popular opinion and became the absolute cultural template for questioning government cover-ups.
All right, finally, part 5, Fact vs. Alien Fiction, Debunking the Folklore. The main takeaway of this whole explainer is directly contrasting that beloved alien folklore with the meticulously documented realities uncovered by the Air Force.
It is honestly amazing how perfectly the mundane reality of Project Mogul maps onto the fantastical conspiracy claims. Take the debris. Marcel's son claimed his dad showed him purple-hued alien hieroglyphs. The reality? The Air Force confirmed that the balloon's balsa wood frames were held together by tape from a toy manufacturer in New York, printed with pastel floral symbols. Let that sink in. The mysterious alien writing was literally just toy tape.
Right, but what about the bodies? Well, in 1997, the Air Force released a massive report detailing how eyewitness accounts of alien bodies perfectly matched the recovery of anthropomorphic parachute test dummies. These were used in the 1950s for programs like Operation High Dive. These dummies were bald, described by witnesses as looking like plastic dolls, and the military retrieved them from the desert using insulation bags that looked exactly like body bags. People had just misremembered the dates over the decades, completely conflating dummy tests from the 1950s with the balloon crash from 1947.
So, let's wrap this all up. Roswell is the most famous, most exhaustively investigated, and most thoroughly debunked UFO claim in human history. A genuine military secret, Project Mogul, needed a really hasty cover story. Fast forward 30 years into a culture absolutely primed for government conspiracy, and opportunistic authors filled that information vacuum. They took Aztec hoax tropes, sci-fi concepts, and fabricated testimonies and just mashed them together to create a modern legend. I want to leave you all with a question. The human mind naturally craves extraordinary explanations, especially when our trust in institutions is at rock bottom. If the totally mundane reality of a classified weather balloon held together by floral-printed toy tape can be transformed into a 70-year global mythology of crashed flying saucers and alien autopsies, what mundane secrets or completely normal technological tests are we totally misinterpreting right now? Think about it. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.